Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the January 27th, 2026 special board meeting for strategic planning for Arlington Heights School District 25. Today's meeting is the vision retreat for the strategic plan and is designated as a special board meeting due to the participation of more than 2 board members. With that, I call the special meeting to order. And Lana, if you could please call the roll.
Neerman, Tranter, Jogi, Scapalato, Michael, Buchberger.
Thank you, Lana. And everyone, if you please stand if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We reserve time on our agenda at each meeting for community input. If a member of the public wishes to address any item on our agenda today, we ask that you please complete one of the blue forms provided on the table by the door and hand the card to Lana O'Brien. Lana, do we have any blue slips? We do not. So we will continue on to the reason we're all here this morning, and I'll turn it over to Dr. K for our Strategic Vision Data Retreat.
Thank you, Mr. Scapalato. So at this time, I'm going to ask Greg, you can go back to your seat as we get started. It is a phenomenal morning to see that we have so many board members here joining students, other community members, administrators, staff. So it's already 8:10, so I'm already flying way behind. So the goal is just to recognize who's present, kind of get the stage set, and then by 8:15, we're going to go into activity number 1. So I'm excited you're all here. I'm excited there's a spot for you. That means we were expecting you, and look, you're here. So this is great. We have a couple people that I think will be joining us just a little bit late. They had a change in drop-off plans, so a couple of your table mates may be joining. And we have a surprise guest, our youngest one ever. Behind me to the right, we have a 7-week-old that is joining us. Cares a lot about the curriculum. So this strategic plan may come to a sunset before this one's even in kindergarten, but could benefit in early childhood from this plan. So you may notice Miss Allie Roberts leaving the room temporarily, but we're thrilled you came and had, what is your child's name? We can give credit. Wes. Wes is joining us. Have you been in a room, Wes, where there's 2 Wes's? Well, this is a memorable one. Just as a reminder, we are recording this because it is an open meeting, so the only time that the voice is being recorded is when you're in a mic. So generally, it'll only be a facilitator with the mic in their hand. But if there is an open discussion, I will do my best to have mics moving around. We will all be in this space the entire time, so I'm excited. We won't be transitioning or losing time for the transition. Are there any questions before we officially kick it off and introduce and welcome back Perry and Brian? Awesome. I'm thrilled. It's 8:11. I gained back some time, so this is good. So thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. Remember, your voice is why you're here. So don't hesitate to share openly in your group and make sure that the whole group is sharing their thoughts and opinions. So if you recognize somebody hasn't contributed, see if you can use a strategy to elicit them to give some feedback or ask them what they're thinking, because everyone is here to share their voice. So thanks again for being here, and don't hesitate to speak today. So let's welcome back Mr. Perry Soldwedel. Appreciate you being here, and I'm happy to hand you the microphone. Thanks, Perry.
The clicker. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. A couple organizational things before we get started. First of all, welcome to the Vision Retreat Day. Important for us to recall and remember that there are 3 big days that we're all going to be together, and this is day number 2. Day number 1, which honestly seems like a long time ago to me, but I think it's just because of the holidays. The data retreat was an important day for us because we spent a great deal of time making sure that all of you clearly understood the current performance of the district. Really important to do that because it's been my understanding and reality that if you ever want to improve in anything, you have to know where you are when you start in order to be able to gauge if you're growing and improving. So important that we spent that day looking at the data, and we came up with a product of the day called the SWOT analysis. You'll all remember it. We identified district strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Since we met, that has been vetted, and our first activity today is going to be to go back and look at that, along with sharing some thoughts and ideas from people who aren't on the team that took a look at it. I would tell you that overall, I feel there was strong support for the product that we produced. One thing that I call to your attention is that people who weighed in on it didn't have the opportunity that you had to look at all the evidence and all the data. And if you looked at some of the feedback, I would hope that you would feel as I did. I think they might have felt differently had they also had the opportunity to look at the data. I say that for 2 reasons. One is that it's really important that voices are into this process. Your voice and voices of people that you represent. But not everybody is privy to the same information. And I think one of the things we discovered in our SWOT holds true. And that is one of the things that I would hope that as we look at the next iteration of the strategic plan, that better communication would be out there to allow more people to know the performance of the district. It's there, but we have to keep calling it to people's attention. And interestingly enough, the way we have to call it to their attention is repeating. If it's something critically important, we learn it more and remember it more if it's repeated more. Right? So I tell you that because before we get into the activity, I would want to make sure that you are aware that any changes that we make, and we will be making some changes, there was some great feedback that came, but we want to make sure that whatever change we make, we're not changing something that we know we have the data to show it's absolutely correct. Okay? But today, after the SWOT return, we will spend the rest of the morning on the vision retreat. And the vision retreat asks a different question. When we were together for the first day, the question was, where are we now? And that led us to an understanding of district performance. Here's where we are. Here's what we're really happy with. Here's what we could do better with. Today's question is, where do we want to be? A very different kind of question. Our first meeting was very analytical, very data-driven. Our second meeting today is going to be very visionary. It's going to create opportunities for us to think about our hopes and our dreams and our aspirations And by the end of the morning, we're going to have a product that will be in draft form called the Preferred Future Statement. And it's going to be about how we're going to be different in 2030 and beyond. We won't want to put anything on that final product that we've already accomplished. We're going to put things on that product that are out there for us to accomplish. And so we're going to be thinking about differences and what our hopes and aspirations and dreams are, and where, when 5, 6 years from now, another group of people are in this room and they're looking to update their strategic plan, that they know that they have achieved something beyond where we are today and close to where we dream about. So today is a creative day, a visionary day. So we're going to get into the first activity in just a moment, but I would like to explain your handout. In the folder in front of you, I will be calling your attention to something you need to pull out for the activity that we're doing. And for the first activity, you need to pull out the top sheet. It is the SWOT analysis. It has a number 5 at the top of it. Okay? That is going to be primarily what we're going to be looking at. I want to call to your attention that you were sent some information that was feedback about the SWOT. It came from families, it came from staff. In the center of the table, should you need it during your activity, you're going to see that there are some copies of things you were sent. And there's 2 of them represent the feedback on the SWOT. So if anybody wants to refer to it or look at it, even though you were sent it, there's a couple copies that are there in the center. Every time we go to the next activity, I'll organize and help you know what support materials you should be looking at. Okay? All right. So I want to remind you that the process that we are using comes from the largest group that trains and certifies facilitators of strategic planning, and that is the Strategy Management Group Scorecard Institute. They're housed at George Washington University. It's where I had all my training, all my certification. It's where I'm required to do refresher courses online every year. And the process is based on the premise that we should never do strategic planning without involving voices of those who the strategic plan is going to impact. So that's why you're all here. It's why we have different groups that are here. It's why every time we create a product, we share it and let people who aren't here give us feedback. Research says that by law, the only group that can approve a strategic plan is the Board of Education. Some boards of education don't include anyone in their strategic plan. They set the direction. They are certainly given the authority to do that, but it becomes the board plan. Right? Your board has decided a long time ago not to do that. They still maintain absolute authority because they can say yes or they can say no. But they want this to be a district plan, not a board plan. So that's why we're all here, and it's why we continue, as we did 5 or 6 years ago, with this kind of a process. But I wanted to let you know that the process wasn't something I made up. It's something that very clearly is based on research and is used predominantly in healthcare all over the country. Most businesses, government itself, as well as education. But education is the fourth group because there are many, many places where boards don't share the process. So from my point of advantage, a celebration and a hats off to your board for recognizing that if we're all involved in setting the plan and we're all involved in living the plan, we're going to get a long way down the road than we are if we're not involved. Right? So thank you to the board for doing that. Also, I think it's wonderful that we have board members wanting to give the time to be part of the group itself. So we're in a good place. I don't need to tell you that. I know that you know that District 25 is a high-quality school district, and its belief is that even though we're great, we can be greater. So just some reminders here at the beginning. We're at the Vision Retreat. We have one more big day left, and then we'll be ready to come forward with a recommendation. Our first day was, where are we now? Our second day, where do we want to be? And our last day, how do we get from where we are to where we want to be? So just some reminders for us. I love this little quote. If schools are not imagining a different future, they will amplify their efforts to do what they have always done. So if we want to get better, we really have to understand that getting better is all about looking at what we're doing, celebrating what we're doing well, acknowledging what we could do better, and targeting that in order to continuously improve. So the future is all about strategic planning. It's the only reason we do strategic planning. So as we think about it, as an introduction to the day, vision provides direction and purpose. It's really hard to go somewhere if you don't have direction and purpose. Purpose gives us the why. So often we're doing things in school districts and we're asking people to do things differently and they don't understand why. So vision helps us both with purpose and direction. It will guide our decision making over the course of the next 5 years. It aligns all of our stakeholders. Hopefully, it's exciting, inspiring, motivating. We try to use words that inspire and motivate people as we write our mission and our vision and adopt our core values. It's very student-centered. It supports student-centered outcomes. It does drive continuous improvement, and it builds trust, community, and confidence. So today is an important day, and our product of today, the preferred future statement, is one that actually describes our culture. It really describes what's important to us as we do our business. Before we get into it, we are going to return now to that SWOT analysis from the data retreat, where we identified our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And you have, on that handout that has a number 5 at the top of it, a copy of the draft that we put together and we put on a survey and sent out to staff and to families. Okay? So we identified top 10. We could have fewer than 10, no more than 10. Top 10 strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Our task today, and I noticed the posters are in the back, right? So in a moment, if you guys could help me pass the SWOT out. Okay? You all have a copy in front of you. You're going to talk about whatever changes you might like to make in it. And there's going to be a poster in the center of your table that looks just like what you have in front of you. But you're going to record any of your changes on the poster. So in front of you is what you think, and you can use for your notes. The poster in the center of the table is what we'll take away. Okay? So that's the process. In order to do that, I want to explain a little bit about the feedback. First of all, we had 173 staff members respond. So a good number. We had 214 community family members that responded. The process says if you get 80% who say they support what you've done, then pretty much what you've done a perfect job in. Because it's always really hard to get 100%. But 80% is what we strive for. So I wanted you to know that in the weakness area, we had 80% community support, 86% staff support. Okay? Good numbers. Now what that tells me is that we pretty much nailed the weaknesses. So we can look at feedback, but the data would tell us we did pretty well with what we have. We really nailed threats. Look at those percentages. 93 support from community, 95 support from staff. So our best area was in the threats area. We did fairly well in opportunities. We almost got that 80% level from community, and we got 89% from staff. The area that probably was the one that we got most feedback on in terms of let's rethink is the strength area. And from that, we had a 70% community and a 66% staff. Okay? So overall, I wanted to share with you the results. From that, we have some indicators of if we were to take a list of the things that you put, which were the ones where there was most non-support. It might have been a word. It might have been their own personal experience or whatever. But when we look at that strength area, we had, and again, there were 63 people out of the total who responded. And the numbers, 21 of them said academic excellence, student engagement, enrichment and student opportunities, 25, class size and staff ratios, 17, school culture and climate, 16. So I just mentioned those to you because if you want to know where was there the most non-support, it came in those areas. And they gave feedback and opportunities, and it was part of the handout that was sent to you. But just wanting you to know, those were kind of the questionable. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what was the total? Let me think about how to break. What does that 173 and 213 represent out of the total population? Like, is that a 10% response rate? Is that a 50% response rate? Because I do think that the number, like how many people total responded and the response rate could color the result.
Yeah. No, great question.
I didn't announce anything about anytime we're going to do a whole group. In order for the public, if anybody was watching, or in the future, if they do want to watch, it would help if we use the microphones. Otherwise, they won't hear anything. They'll just hear whatever's spoken in the microphone. So that's why I had tech put these around the table. So if we do anything whole group, try to remember to use the microphone. So I don't have the hard answer to your question, but I can try to get that during our time. Yeah, you want to know what is the 173 compared to a certified staff of, I think, about 450. So I can do the percentage on that. And then number of families, I don't have that exact number, but I can get a ballpark in order to understand. I think it was 200 and something families responded out of X, how many. So I don't have the hard number right now, but I can look for it. Thanks.
Yeah. And I didn't have a hard number either, but what I surmised out of that is with the numbers, it's not the strong percentage of families. That would be much, much weaker than the percentage of staff. I would tell you that the percentage of staff, and I do a lot of these, I was happy with the percentage of staff. So again, we can get that number for you, but it's a very good question. Really good question. The most important thing about it is that we gave people the opportunity of seeing what we came up with and being able to weigh in on it. Oftentimes people don't feel they're part of things. We present opportunities, but sometimes people don't take those opportunities. So we're always looking at how does that stack up. I think another part of the answer to your question, which is something that I can do because I do many of these. I would tell you that whatever the percentage is on staff, it's usually high. Your number is a higher percent than what I normally get. I would tell you that your number on families is lower than what I normally get. Okay? And I think that's important for you to know because first of all, what I take away from that is staff members are into this. They want to be a part of it. They want their voices heard. Families aren't really sure of what this is all about. They may not realize the importance of what it is that we're doing. And if I'm thinking that for today, and I'm thinking that for the future, a takeaway for me is we got to get them more involved. They got to have better, clearer, more frequent information, because with that, there's more engagement on it. But perfect example of a great question, and why anybody that has a question along the way should grab that mic and ask it. Okay? Thank you. But I felt it was important to show this slide because you kind of get an idea if there were some things, what are they? And if you're going to talk about those things, think back to the data that we got last time. And do we want to change that based on the feedback, or do we want to say we just need a better job of making sure everybody had that feedback? Yeah? So very definitely strengths of an organization are critically important. They're important for people to know. When we know them, they provide a strong foundation that supports trust, commitment. I want to be here. I want to stay here. So strengths are important. Weaknesses, 43 responses, lower numbers in terms of who wasn't happy. We had 20s in the strength. In the weaknesses, our highest one was 14 people, okay, out of the 43 who responded. And as we're looking at that, staff diversity and representation was the highest one. So in that case, because it's a weakness, it would mean that there were 14 people who do not feel that staff diversity and representation is a weakness. Yeah? We had 13 with communication and transparency. We had 11 with student engagement and instruction. So again, just to kind of give you the top ones, so that if you're looking at and you want to think about change, you know. Smaller numbers, but those were the top choices. Weaknesses are critical for the strategic plan team because oftentimes weaknesses turn into strategies for improvement. When we know that this is a weakness, we got to ask ourselves, is it so critical that we absolutely have to make sure we address this one in the strategic plan? So strict weaknesses become very much of opportunities to get better. In the opportunities column, we really only had one. Only one. And that was artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is a big topic everywhere right now. It's an opinion topic. We all have our opinions about it. I would tell you from my experience, there are a number of districts where we're really working hard on what do we do with artificial intelligence. And I would say that what is happening in those districts is that we begin artificial intelligence without structures and rules and procedures. We didn't carefully know what it was and how we could use it. And there was a lot of worry that artificial intelligence was going to be something that has major impact. I have 4 children, grandchildren, 2 of whom are in college. And if they were with me right now, they would tell you that they can't imagine a world in which they didn't have command and understanding of the use of artificial intelligence, because it's the way of the future. But they will also tell you it's a perfect example of a new tool that is in place without thought. And I think that as we're looking at this one, and this one is standing out everywhere, in every strategic plan I do, people aren't saying, ignore it, don't do it. They're just saying, get your handle on it and figure out good ways of helping kids understand how to use it and rules that absolutely do not allow you to use it. I would tell you that in today's exercise, you're going to be hearing me share with you how I used artificial intelligence in order to help prepare some of the tools for you today. But what's important for you to know is that I never used artificial intelligence without putting your words in up front. It was your words. It was no one else's words. Your words went in, and then it did its magic around your words. And that makes it a very powerful tool. My oldest grandson is at the University of Michigan, and he was admitted into the university in actuarial sciences. And if you know anything about actuarial sciences, very much data, very much computer science, very much mathematical. At the end of his sophomore year, everyone who was in that major, they were called in, and they were told that the university was shutting down that major. And they were moving them to other majors because they would never get a job in the future because artificial intelligence is replacing them. Now that's the University of Michigan. And so He's in business right now, and it doesn't mean that artificial intelligence isn't a part of it. But artificial intelligence is just one of those issues that are out there. And I needed to comment about it because it was the one area under opportunity. It was yours, yes. Yes, would you mind using the mic?
All right, one clarifying question. Are we talking about artificial intelligence, using that in classrooms to teach our children? Or are we talking about teaching our children how to use artificial intelligence? I hear both sides, and I wonder if splitting those into two different components would allow us to put them differently on the SWOT.
Again, I think that's a great comment, and I think that that is something that we need to do, but I want to remind you, we are a what group, not a how group, and I think having artificial intelligence and whoever might study and look into it would need to answer both of those questions, both parts of it. And the problem is we've not done the how. The how is what is missing. Okay? Any other question?
I think that's a great point, and as like a parent in the schools, I think that's a key delineator. I work in corporate America as well,
Yeah.
and I think that's learning how to use it and what it should be used for is very different than I think how parents might see it, which is you're going to have AI teach my student, and like even as a parent now, I can say like I hear constantly my kids hate Amira, the AI tool that's teaching them. That's all I hear about is how much they hate it. And so I
Right.
think there's a big delineation in those two facets as you think about
Yes.
school
Yes.
and students.
So I appreciate, again, your points because they help me clarify. And I think that the point is very well taken. There are two sides of the coin, but both sides of the coin are missing the how. They're missing the how. And so when things like that, they become perfect examples of why we need to include it in a strategic plan, because it means we don't have the how, and it's something really critical that we get the how too. Because if we don't have that, we have a bigger mess. The last part were the threats, and I told you 95%. I mean, we pretty much nailed that one. There was only one tax revenue volatility where there were 5 people who said. So not very many people objecting or unable to support what you had in the threat column. And if we can get control of tax revenue volatility, it would be miraculous. Okay. So anyway, important. I think it's very important for you to understand what the survey said, because it honors the people who spent their time to go through and tell us. From their point of view, there are no wrong answers, they're opinions. We have to be able to weigh those opinions in terms of the evidence and data we have to know what to change. So from that, I'm going to give you an opportunity, and I'm going to say about 30 minutes. Okay? 30 minutes. Now, I can give you more time, but I just want us to have a discussion, and I want to start out with strengths. And if you remember, that was the one that had more non-support than anyone else. Then move to weaknesses, then to opportunities, then to threats. And your choices are going to be keep it as it is, take it off the list, or rewrite it. Okay? The other choice would be, is there something that we didn't put on the list that through feedback we'd want to add? Everybody understand their task? Okay, I'll check back in with you. I'll give you a 5-minute warning at 9:10. If we need more time at 9:15, we'll take it, but let's try to wrap this up in the 30 minutes.
Do we have the
Excuse the interruption. Just want to give you a little bit of a time warning. Had several requests to put these back up. I started with the strengths and left them there for a while because that's the biggest area. The second biggest area would be weaknesses. The last two areas hardly add anything of substance. So you need to spend your time mainly on the strength and weakness issue. But I wanted to remind you of time. We're hoping that we can be done somewhere around 9:15. I told you I'd give you more time if you needed, but just wanting you to know we need to move forward. Okay? Thank you. Peoria.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So you know
Oh yeah.
families in Peoria.
Which would be presented its own channel. He played at Southern and then just never left. Teacher, all that, and now so he is superintendent of elementary district first, and now he's superintendent of high school district. So he's the superintendent. Okay. And Mike, yeah. That's cool. Yeah, we could really. He's got stories for days. Bad reputation. But I think of that like succession planning process. That's too long. I think that's too long.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to draw a conclusion to activity 1. Thank you for your hard work and discussion. It's been great walking around and listening to everyone. I think most people have had a chance to look at the feedback and make changes. We'll leave the poster on your table so that if you need to add a little bit, that it's there and you can go to it. But I'd like to move us on to activity 2. To begin with, in activity 2, you really don't need any materials. It's just kind of an introduction to vision. So as we move through the introduction, I'd like you to look at the 8 characteristics that are up on the screen. As we move into vision, reminding you that our product at the end of the day is going to be a preferred future statement. It's going to have mission, vision, core values, and a learner portrait. I think everyone is pretty familiar with mission and vision and core values. And by the way, your mission, vision, and core values are strong. It was primarily looking at mission, vision, core values, and goals that your board decided to do a refresh of the strategic plan, because they decided that they have provided a great foundation on which to build and improve and move forward, and they're still working, and that all we want to do is, especially with mission and core values, is to just give a little opportunity for reflection to see if there's any tweaking that we want to do, but to spend more time with the vision itself, because after 5 or 6 years, the vision needs to be updated. We're going to be adding a fourth element that you didn't have that's called a learner portrait. And it is something that a group of people that had the same stakeholder representation that you have met last spring and during the summer, and you're going to see their draft of the learner profile. The learner profile is an element of vision, and what it does is it describes for all students in District 25 what we hope that they will be able to demonstrate competency in as they move into high school. Very interesting that District 214 did the same thing with their strategic planning, and that actually was 2 years ago, and it's been in operation for 1 year. They have what it is that they want all District 214 students to know and be able to do to move forward in life after high school. So it's college-oriented, career-oriented, life-oriented. Yeah? So this team had the benefit of seeing what that looked like, and they came together, put a draft together. I'll be sharing it with you toward the end of the morning. The only thing that we'll do as a group is to know that it's going to be one of the four, and we've already got a good start on it. And so we're going to be continuing to seek feedback on it, and you'll get a chance to weigh in on it at our next meeting. But the rest of the morning will be spent on tweaking mission and core values and looking at revisiting vision. Okay? When we put all this together, we will call it a preferred future statement. And I want to begin with the end in mind by sharing with you the 8 research-based characteristics that we want that statement to have. They're up there in blue. I'm not going to read them to you. I'm going to ask you to look at them. And in a moment, I'm going to be seeking volunteers. And what I want for you to do is to choose one of them that speaks the most to you and tell us why it speaks the most. I'll demonstrate that for you. All 8 are equally important. The one that speaks most to me is the first one, future-focused. The reason it speaks to me is that I want to make sure that whatever we put on that paper isn't in place today. Because strategic planning is all about the future and all about what we need to do that isn't working today that we want to dream or hope or aspire to achieve in the future. Okay? So I'm going to give you a moment to pick yours, and then I'm going to call on a few of you who would be willing to share. So let's just take a minute or two to look through them and identify the one that speaks most to you. Okay, who's ready to share? Which one? Over here? Unique and memorable, spoke to her. I certainly don't want us to write a preferred future statement that someone would look at and say, boring. Yes.
I would say inspiring, because just I feel like as a student, getting people to like if I make a club, getting people to join the club, or just informing people that there are clubs to join that they might be interested in, but they're just maybe not informed or something like that. That speaks the most to me.
Inspiring. Inspiring. It kind of goes along with the one you said too. If I'm going to write something and it's inspiring, I'd be excited about it. I'd get excited about it. Yes.
Specific. I've seen too many mission statements and vision plans that are full of great buzzwords and aspirational without having a clear, measurable tactic or goal that they're looking for.
Specific. Making sure that it's clear and focused, memorable. We're going to find out that our mission statement should really be something we could say without taking a breath. Okay? Simplicity, significance, specific. Yes, back there.
The one that speaks to me is relevant and purpose-driven, because I feel like our purpose is our students, and so we want to make sure that it's tied into ultimately what they need and relevant to the time period we're in. So I feel like it kind of goes with the future focus, but you know, just understanding where we are and where we want our students to be and making that our main goal.
Great. One more, yes.
I chose values-based. As a parent and a professional educator myself, my own values are a large part of what spurred me to run for the Board of Education, and I try to keep those values in mind whenever I'm making a decision that impacts the students and staff and community.
Great. Values-based. They're all important, all 8 of them. We're going to write a statement. We're going to seek feedback on the statement, and actually I'll be making appropriate use of artificial intelligence before our next meeting, because I'm going to take the mission statement, the vision statement, and the core values, and I'm going to test them against these 8 research-based characteristics to let us know, could we do better in any one of the areas? And that feedback will come to you. But these are 8 really good things. And I always like to begin with the end in mind, because as we put them together, we do want to have a journey or a path, a plan to get us to a better place. And these 8 things do that. The next thing that I would like to do is talk for a moment about 3 surveys that were given by the district in preparation for today. They were given to students, middle school. They were given to staff. They were given to families. And they had the opportunity to tell us a little bit about their hopes and their dreams and their aspirations, to let us know what they think's working, what might be better. And you have a handout that addresses that. It is a 3-column handout. It starts with student, then has parent, then has staff. So if you could pull that one out, because This was also something sent to you, but we want to have it available as we're going to do the activity. Okay. There's a poster that's going to be coming out for our next piece of work. I'll explain how we're going to do the next piece of work, and then we'll get into the activity itself. Due to time, what we're going to do is we're going to pair up at each table. So you're going to look to the person that's sitting next to you, and at least two of you, there could be three of you. You will decide to do student. Two other people will decide to do parent, and two other will decide to do staff. So we're going to jigsaw it. The poster that's going to be in the center of the table has 3 columns. You're going to use sticky notes. And with your partner, for your area, so if I'm one that is looking at student vision survey, I'm going to be looking through the summary of that survey, and with Post-it notes, I'm going to identify 3 to 5 things that were part of that survey that really speak to what students are looking for in the future. There's a section of each survey that allows us to do that. So you'll find out in your survey if your student, middle school students told us about their vision for learning. So that's an area that you're going to want to look at. And together with your partner, you're going to pick 3 to 5 things that they told us important to their future, and you're going to put it on the chart. If you happen to be looking for family and family voice, you'll look at the one that talks about across all stakeholder groups. And if you're looking for staff, you'll look at the one that speaks to staff. Question?
Did the survey give them an open-ended question where they got to like type what they wanted to say, or were there like maybe a few prompts of like that these few?
The survey was electronic, so it was a survey in which there were a few questions on it that were what I would consider to be yes or no, and there were most questions that were on it that were open-ended. And what you're getting is a summary of open-ended responses. Good question. Okay? So what's going to happen is that with your partner, you're going to look at the results. The results are theirs, not ours. And you're going to pick 3 to 5 of them that if you were going to use them to help you in your thinking of developing a new mission, what are the 3 to 5 things they told us you might want to keep in mind? Question about that? When it's on the chart, you'll have all 3 columns. And when all 3 columns are filled in, you can talk to each other about what's on the chart. Question? Okay, we're ready to go. This is the next set. Don't need them yet, but just so you know, this is the next set. I think we're the best.
How are we using it appropriately? Right. To
Do you-
still provide opportunities. Not at all.
This is the first.
You're young. I believe it. Hopefully he's a good first example. I think this is a sign. Early childhood. Early childhood. We gotta include that in our.
This is amazing. Excuse the interruption. We're going to conclude at 10 o'clock with this activity. You're doing very well, but as soon as you have the 3 columns, have your conversations. Learn about what's in the other 2 columns.
I also wonder about like.
Okay, have you had these or are you only eating good, healthy fruit?
I haven't had those yet.
They're amazing.
Was it a good day? I mean, do you want to summarize what you said in your little set? Because it's a jigsaw, right? We have to close out the jigsaw.
Now we got to make the puzzle.
Right. So as for parents, it was like pretty clear that there were 4 recurrent themes. The first and most recurrent was communication. Parents appreciate clear and consistent communication. That drive to have more personalized communication about how you're going to finish.
You're out of time.
Doesn't look that way. So they changed some things in the way that play it.
Sorry about that. I'm going to move us on into activity 4. Today, we're not removing the charts from your tables because they build on one another. So if you didn't get enough time to talk about these, you can use them when we get to the vision activity and go back to them. So everybody, I think, got a chance to complete the activity, maybe needing a little more time to talk about it, but we'll return to it with vision. In activity number 4, we're going to be moving to vision, and from your folder, you need to look at handout 10 and 12. 10 and 12. These will be the 2 things that you will need to do this activity. So we've talked about what is a preferred future statement. We've talked about what are some ideas that our students, our parents, our staff have about a future vision. We're now going to get into the writing, the updating, the tweaking of mission, vision, and core values. So we're beginning with mission, wanting to remind you that the board felt strongly that the mission statement is good. It may need a little tweaking, but it doesn't need a complete overhaul. Okay? So as we begin that activity, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of mission, vision, and values. They really set up the culture of the district. They really talk about relationships, the things that are critically important to us as we go about doing our daily work. These are the overall big picture items that helps to set direction for who we are. So as we look at mission, it's important for us to understand that mission is our foundational purpose. If I had to choose 2 words to describe it, those would be the 2 words I would use. Our foundational purpose. It answers the question, why do we exist? What are we here to do? It provides for us unity in the fact that we all agree and we all understand what is our foundational purpose. If we're in agreement and we practice the use of our mission and our vision and our core values, we're a much more unified district than we are if we wouldn't have them. These are the things we hold in common. The larger the district, the more difficult that is to do. I have done strategic planning in Rockford for over 20 years. We have done 3 plans during that time. Their challenge is 47 schools, if you can imagine. On 47 schools, to decide what we have in common is quite a task. But what was critically important to the board is that the board wanted to ensure parents that it didn't make a difference which school you attended. That there were common things guaranteed everywhere. So they have spent an enormous amount of time and energy and money, to be honest, in making sure that those things are held in common. And I hold Rockford up as a district that if they can do it with 47 schools, anybody can do it. And they've done an incredible job of it. So as we think about mission, we have to think about the fact that this is what holds us together. This is our core. This is the foundation. This is the highlight of our uniqueness. Okay? So mission is an important statement. This is your current statement. Empower an inclusive, diverse community of learners to innovate and thrive as global citizens. This is what 5 or 6 years ago the strategic plan team chose as the foundational purpose. We find that if we look at the criteria, which is listed for you there to the left, that it holds up fairly well. Most mission statements are longer than this. But in doing an analysis of your mission statement against that criteria, so looking at the criteria, it's written for you on the handout that you have. We actually were able to say, how did you do? And there's an assessment for you that's in that handout. You did fairly well. There were some suggestions for how to improve it. We use this statement because it's a statement that for direction we want to tweak. The board felt it's pretty strong. We like it. It's simple. If there's a way to make it better, great. But we don't need to toss it out and start all over again. So that's why we started with it. Okay? After measuring it against the criteria, you will find out in the other packet there are some suggestions to make it better, to better meet the criteria. Your task as a team, and you will find that on the second handout, the first page, some examples. Okay? Doesn't mean you need to use that. In handout number 10, number 10, that's your worksheet. You will find in number 10, you have your current mission, the criteria, and a blank column. Your task is to begin to think what might anything we want to do to change the current statement look like. Today is a first run. We're not expected to come up with the perfect one. We're expected to come up with some ideas. It can be some words. It can be some phrases. It can actually be a sentence. No paragraphs, please. And you're just going to give us some ideas. We're going to collect all the ideas. We'll look at all the ideas, and the next time we're together, we'll focus in on the exact statement. So you have to look at today as practice. You have to look at today as brainstorming. You have to look at today as offering your thoughts that will eventually lead to something very succinct. Okay? So no pressure to write the perfect one today, but we can begin to do it. Questions we should ask ourselves. Are we happy with the current one? Do we want to just move the current one forward? Do we want to tweak the current one? Do we want to make it better, but using primarily the words of the old one? Or do we want to look at something new? And in something new, the 4 examples that are on the screen all came from the old mission statement in more friendly, family-oriented language that meets the criteria better. So these 4 aren't brand new ideas that somebody else came up with. They actually came forward from your older one, but better meet the criteria. Do you like any one of these? Or would you like to write your own? So we're going to spend some time giving you an opportunity to think through those and write words. You're going to be frustrated because in the 3 remaining activities, you're going to want more time. But the reason you're not going to get the more time is we're brainstorming and we're thinking of ideas. And we'll have the more time the second time we're together. Questions before we begin about your task? Okay, I'll check back in with you in about 20 minutes. About 20 minutes. Okay? 2 minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Okay, do you want me to write that? Josie, here, you write. Okay, keep the
You can just put your Post-it notes if you want to on it.
Well, we changed it again.
Okay. You elevated your Post-it notes.
I know we did. We're like, wait, we're adjusted.
You got about 2 minutes left.
Thank you.
How long have you been on the board?
I'm not on the board.
You're not on the board?
No. I just show up to a lot of meetings. I'm here to yell when other people. I'm friends of the board. They tell me when they come to board meetings so I can push against other people who say ridiculous things. That's how the other Kevin got stuff to. I'm not. No.
Okay, I need to move us on to activity 5. Very conscious of our 12 o'clock time to be finished. I know that a couple teams are writing their work on the poster. I want to thank you for the great discussion that's gone on. And when I'm looking at the products, they exceed my expectations. We really got further into the discussion and into the examples on mission at every table. So I'm going to move us on now into vision. Okay, very important. Here are the directions for the vision activity, and it's very similar to the mission. You need the same 2 handouts. The only thing you need to do is turn the page in each handout, and you will get vision. They look similar to mission because the format is the same, the words are different. So, same 2 handouts, moving us into vision. As we look at vision, vision really is an overall accomplishment that kind of tells us where we're headed. And if we're going to look out there 5 years from now, what we would look at to say, did we make it or not? So it's kind of the end product of where we want to be. It's longer than the mission. It usually is a short statement with some bullet points, usually. Okay? And it is a sense of direction and a basis for assessing where we are around where we hope to be. Okay? So mission and vision go together. I like to think of mission as foundation and vision as reality. Okay? It's almost like if I know my mission and I hold up a mirror and I want to see in the mirror the reality of my mission, this is the reality of my mission. It is much more specific, and it is much more detailed than the mission statement would be. Yeah? So, it's something that is a picture of the future. It's easy to understand. It's emotionally inspiring. See some of those characteristics of the preferred future statement showing up here? It takes you way beyond where you are to the mountaintop. So as we look at vision, this is your current vision. It meets those criteria. It has a beginning statement, and then it has several bullet points. So when I hold it up against the criteria, what would you guess might be the number one suggestion? Condense. Yeah, condense. Great words, good thoughts, too long. Okay. What else might you say the assessment would say? You got the first one. There's one more that stood out. User-friendly language. User-friendly language. Those were the two things. Actually, when you look at the assessment of it against the criteria, you know, we're really wanting to know that assessment tells us those two things. And it's in more detail in your handout. Some of the questions that came as a part of that assessment are listed for you. They're also listed in the handout. So we used the research-based criteria, and on that handout, you will see they gave the assessment, and then on the other handout, they actually gave some new choices. The new choices were based on the content in the current mission statement, but also involved looking forward, using the criteria, and there are several options that are there. I only put two of them on the slides. But if you read these, and I'm not suggesting that those be the ones you use, you will see that they're shorter, and you will see that they are written in more user-friendly language. Okay. So there are several that were presented, and those are all in those two handouts. Your job is to spend some time thinking about the vision. What might be the overarching sentence and what might be some of the bullet points. Think back on the mission or the words that you put on your paper just a moment ago. If it were in reality, what might it look like? Again, we're not going to finish today. We're looking for the beginning product. We have until 20 minutes after 11 to get our initial thinking done, knowing that we're going to return to this, so we're not going to get frustrated if it isn't perfect, because we know we're going to have a chance to return. Okay? But at 11:20, we'll move into the final activity. Okay? Questions before we begin? So once again, there will be a poster that will be in the center of your table. We'll bring it around in a moment. But the poster will just allow you to put your thinking from today into that column on the right. All right, we'll be around. Let us know if you need any questions answered.
Okay, how are we doing here? We're gonna move on to the last activity, but I'm gonna give you guys 30 more seconds to wrap up these conversations that we're having around vision. Okay, that sounds like a good spot. So, English teachers are famous for saying you never finish a paper, you just surrender it at the last possible minute. That's kind of what you're doing here, right? Isn't that what English teachers say? So, obviously, this is really messy work and it's really hard. We're in the point now where we're wordsmithing, right? And so you're trying to find the exact, most perfect mission statement to put on the paper, and 12 other groups are doing the same thing. So don't feel like you have to be done with what's happening today, because everything we're putting down, we're gonna take back. This is only in draft form. So that's gonna come back at the next session, and we'll have a chance to look at that again. So by now, we've talked about preferred future statement. We've talked about mission, vision, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and all of that is clear as day on the difference between all those, right? No, it's hard. It's messy, right? So we're going to add one more layer onto this called core values. So when we think about core values, get to the right slide here. So take a look at this slide. So core values are asking how we behave, how we operate on a daily basis, what beliefs do we all need to share in order to achieve that mission and vision. And so we're actually just kind of coming up with the values that we use on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis to make sure that we're behaving, we're operating how we say we're going to operate. And so there's some criteria that go along with this. So if we have really good core values, they should describe what the organization stands for. They should be our guiding principles or our code of conduct, so to speak. They should provide some really good ethical guidelines for decision making and in our daily conduct. They, of course, need to be aligned with our organizational mission, vision, and culture. We want these to be really described in behavioral terms because it's how we act and how we behave. And then they, of course, are represented in a phrase but not a sentence or a paragraph. So District 25 has current core values of responsibility, integrity, collaboration, fairness, kindness, and perseverance. Now, those are the current values, or current core values. So here's our criteria for evaluating a core value or a belief. So I want to give you guys just about 30 seconds here to read through these instead of reading them to you. And then I want to ask for some share outs on which ones of these criteria really resonate with you. So we've got fundamental, enduring, guides behavior, non-negotiable, and distinctive. So read through those real quick, and there's another slide that has some more criteria. So there's 9 or 10 in total. So take a look at those and reflect on those. Okay, then here are the other 5 criteria: authentic, actionable, consistent, meaningful, and testable. So take a few seconds to read through the definition of those criteria. So which one of those 10 criteria for developing a core value or belief really resonated with you? Someone raise your hand, grab the microphone in the front of your, or in the center of your table and speak into that. Go ahead.
One that stood out to me was non-negotiable.
Yep.
The idea that it's not compromised for convenience. I also
Yep.
feel like that's a really high bar in a good way to set
Right.
for yourself. Like,
Yep.
we really need to think about, these are things we're always going to stick to, no matter the circumstance.
Yeah, really good. I mean, I think we come across decisions or actions that we could take or not take that might seem right in the moment, but oftentimes they're in conflict with these core values that we have, and that's as she said, a really high bar, right? We want to set that bar high so that if we come across those decisions or those actions, we want to make sure that we're honoring our core values instead of just making an easy choice or doing what may seem right in the moment. How about one more? What else resonated? Go ahead. Let me grab it.
Hello. All right, I think going along with that is authentic. I love that. I am very authentic with who I am, and as a staff member, I think I try to foster that in our students, but I think it backs up, I like not just who you want to appear to be, and that lived experience, I think is so important. You know, if you're going to talk, you got to walk the walk. So
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, no, authentic is so important, right? And you think about what we've done this morning so far in talking about mission and vision. In some ways, those are aspirational, but core values are who we should be on a day-to-day basis, those behaviors, and those should always be authentic. So really good. So we have, so now that you have kind of an idea of what those criteria are for the core values, now we want to get into the work. And similar to what Perry said for the first couple of activities, we really have three choices here, right? You have some built-in core values that were developed a few years ago. So the choice is you could simply forward those core values into this strategic plan. In other words, say, you know what, we're good. We like these core values. You could kind of do that middle part of maybe we need to tweak some of the core values or change some of the phrasing. Or you like the core values anymore, we want to start over and develop new core values. So that's the work you're going to do now on this next sheet of paper you're going to have, is you're going to take a look at the current core values and sort of wordsmith them, discuss those, reflect, are they working? Do they really articulate who we are as a district and who we are as people? And if so, then you're good. But what are we giving, Perry, 20 minutes or so to do this, or 30? So we'll say until 10 till noon. So you have about 22 minutes or so to do the similar activity you did with the mission and vision. Sound like a plan? All right, you're off and running.
would be fine saying accurate. Right. Unless there's another word. Right, so we need to.
Right, so it needs
So real quickly, some of the tables notice that the criteria that I went over are not on the big sheet of paper, but they are in your packet. They're in that second to last page of the packet. So refer to that if you need to. Oh, sorry. Just give everyone a 5-minute warning here. So take about 5 more minutes to finish this activity up, and then we'll have about 10 minutes to wrap up.
Right, right, right.
It's a financial savings if we leave it alone.
Right.
You guys did a good job. I really liked it.
I do too.
They made one change. That was it.
It's, well, the content, we can work on it, but the format of it,
Statement.
so
Boom, boom,
much
boom.
better.
Love it.
Yeah, I was really happy with it.
We got in there. But we got rid of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We felt like it was kind of.
Simple, simple.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't watching before.
That could be number 6. That's our restructure.
I've been putting off getting 2 glasses for probably 3 years, and the arm of it just fully like fell up. Like I was talking to my daughter, and I could like feel it falling. It's just like, oh no. They stayed on them.
She does because she is already decided she wants to be a lawyer. So she's from a law school. I feel like if that
Sorry.
Yeah,
They're wrapping up.
they're there.
Yep.
And I will turn it back to you.
Yeah, sounds great.
Fine.
To close? Yeah.
The benediction.
challenge is a part of learning. Okay.
I'm going to bring you back together for the last time. We've got about 10 minutes to wrap up this morning. There are a couple tables still writing. Go ahead, continue writing on your core values. But I want to just wrap up today's work. So, the product for today is a preferred future statement. We've been working on it all morning long. And we have some good drafts. Mission, vision, core values, and the last piece, which is in your folder, is a copy of the learner graduate portrait. And I'd like you to just pull it out for a moment. We're not going to do anything with it. We're just going to make sure that you are aware of what it is and how it fits in with the preferred future statement. I referred to it when I began the introduction of today. And it's part of vision, and it's being included now in almost every school district plan. It's something highly recommended by the state. There are actually states that have adopted it for every school district within their state. A very popular thing. And the reason it fits well within our preferred future statement is it outlines expectations for what we're looking for students when they leave us. We're unusual in Illinois with K-8 districts. So we usually call it a learner portrait rather than a graduate portrait, because most people think of the graduate portrait as the graduation from high school. Okay? We're just going to call it both, learner/graduate. And we're going to think of graduate as graduating into high school. Okay? So learner, graduate. We've been working on this, started in the spring and in the summertime. We've sought some feedback on it. And what you have in front of you in the folder is the draft of it, so that you can see what is it. You can see in the slide that I have, it's actually going to be put into a great visual of some kind. There are all kinds of different ways of doing that, but when we do our strategic plan, there will be a visual that will include this. So a portrait is really part of vision, but it directly relates to the student. It directly relates to learner expectations. And the expectations that are there are expectations that are much more what I would consider to be life skill related. So they're not directly curriculum related in terms of math, or what should we learn in social studies, or what should we learn. But across all curricular areas, what are they call them 21st century skills, that are things that we want to make sure that all of our learners can practice and can be competent in, because we know that these are the things that no matter what they do beyond schooling, these are things that are going to make them healthy, happy, competitive, future members of society. So a team of people from the district met in this room, stakeholder groups represented, and we came up with the draft of that. I wanted to show you that District 214 has done the same thing. They have actually identified 8 major things that they're aligning all of their courses in their classrooms for, and they are even providing some evaluative feedback and parents about how kids are doing in relationship to these. We had that, and we certainly used it as a part of what we needed to do in order to feed into that. You can go to their website. You can see lots of things that they're doing with it in 214. The only reason I say that is that once we get this, we're going to put it into practice K-8, so that we'll actually have K-12 involved in it. Okay? So as we look at all of this, we determined that there were a number of skills. They're listed for you in your handout. They're in the left-hand column, and a description of the expectations in the right-hand column. We are still in the process. On the back, there's some information about our first round of feedback from students. We have much more feedback from students. We feel students should be involved in helping to set these. We also feel teachers should be very involved in helping to set them because they're eventually going to be aligned to curriculum. When it's all done, it can actually then be broken down into, here are the 8 or 9, however many skills. What does that look like in a kindergarten class? What does that look like in a first grade class? What does that look like in a second grade class? So they're going to be written in grade level friendly language around these skills. It's something that we do outside of this team, but since it's a part of the preferred future statement, I wanted to share it with you. And I wanted you to know where we are in the process and the fact that eventually it will be part of that statement. But our work today is to really just focus on mission, vision, core values, knowing this piece has already been started, is still in process, and will eventually be added. So, ending with that, we have done our work for the day. I have a lot of great thoughts, great words, lots of posters to take with me. It's my job to go through those. You will get back what every table team said in all of those areas, along with a synthesis of those. And we will meet next time, a month from now, and our very first activity will be to revisit the preferred future statement, to look at the recommendations, to look at feedback that we will be receiving from middle school students and from teachers. And we'll make today's work better. So I thank you for your hard work and your patience and a little bit of frustration today because I know people like to walk out feeling like we did it, it's over. Today's work can't be over today. It has to be something that we walk away from, we reflect on, and I promise you when we are together again, we'll walk away and feel like it's final. So I'll turn it back to you, Dr. Kay.
Thank you, Perry. Group, if we could take one moment to recognize and thank Perry and Brian for facilitating. Thank you. If I could also task one person at every table, could you label the top of all those posters, like T1 for table 1, T2 for table 2, just so we know exactly what tables these came from? Brian Waterman and I believe that Perry has a room in his house dedicated to just piles of posters. So I'd like to see evidence of it. But I will say, after our last meeting, where you got to sit and get a lot of information, you also provided feedback on some documents, and the speed at which Perry was able to turn around to give us a synopsis or a summary of our work, I thought was fantastic. So I would expect the same speed, Perry and Brian, of a synopsis of all the work we did today. But we recognize that will take a little bit of time to put it all together, but I recognize the value of the input will get summarized so we can use it again in February. So with that, let's officially close the open meeting. President Scapalato.
Thank you, Dr. Kay. And I just want to say on behalf of the board, We are grateful to all of you so that this is a shared process, a shared investment, and a shared outcome. So thank you again. We don't have any community input requests. So, board, can I have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
Mr. President,
Yes, Kevin.
I recommend that the board adjourn the special meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Anisha. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. How many we have? 6-0. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.